Next item we have is proposed University Senate resolution of no confidence. I will allow Scott Yost to present the resolution.
Thank you, Chair Collett. Given the significance of this matter, and I know you've all had a chance to review it based on the agenda, but I am just going to take and I'm going to read the proposal as it is. University Senate Resolution of No Confidence. The University of Kentucky has a long and successful history of shared governance. For decades, faculty, students, and administrative staff have decided broad educational policy together as members of the University Senate. Together, these constituent groups and their allies have advanced the university in research, teaching, service, and patient care, fostering growth and promoting excellence for the Commonwealth. Excuse me. President Capilouto has accomplished much since becoming president in 2011. Unfortunately, recent events surrounding revisions to shared governance at UK have called into question President Capilouto's ability to lead. Whereas the Board of Trustees and the University of Kentucky tasked President Capilouto in February of 2024 with recommending changes to UK shared governance structures. Whereas the president created unnecessary and harmful division when he amplified false narratives that faculty members on the University Senate do not prioritize student needs or value diverse representation, despite much evidence to the contrary and despite the University Senate's stated openness to membership and procedural improvements. Whereas in formulating his recommendations, the president made significant repeated management errors that have created unnecessary confusion, anxiety, and risk within the university community. Whereas in response to the president's mismanagement, the University Senate urged the president and the board to pause the process and engage collaboratively with representative constituent groups to ensure a more inclusive, transparent, and confidence-building decision-making process. See Resolutions 1, 2, and 3 previously passed by the Senate body. Whereas, because the president and board continues to rush without a pause despite mismanagement, a foundation of trust now does not exist to support the president's planned changes, leaving the elected faculty representatives in particular with no confidence in the president or his ability to cultivate strong shared governance at UK. Be it resolved that the University Senate expresses no confidence in the president or his shared governance recommendations, including revisions to the governing regulations. Be it further resolved that the University Senate advises the board to redo the process of shared governance reform so that the president can address the University Senate's concerns and restore this body's confidence in the president, his recommendations, and the promise of vibrant shared governance at UK. Be it finally resolved that the University Senate advises the president to redevelop his recommendations using a process characterized by transparency, openness, and genuine, authentic collaboration. This process should recognize the benefit and advantages of involving faculty, staff, and students in decision-making and conflict resolution, granting them meaningful agency and authority beyond advisory roles. I submit this to the Senate for consideration and approval.
So we have a motion. I will entertain a second. Akiko, second the motion. The motion is now on the floor, and the floor is open up to members for questions of fact and or debate. Okay, we have
Scott Yost, College of Engineering. It's a heavy day at the University of Kentucky. We have been for several months through some quite honestly, very difficult, trying, challenging times. And folks, this is, a low point. These last several months have been a low point for the University of Kentucky. Anybody I have spoken with has not been excited about this resolution. They have been certainly taken aback by the president's, or I was just going to say in general, the leadership's actions. And just know that, through the last several months, nobody here at the University of Kentucky is a winner, pass or fail of this resolution. And in fact, I do want to make it very clear, though, that we are here today 100% due to the president, not because of what the Senate is doing, but it's 100% on the president and the leadership of this university. And so keep that in mind as we discuss and go forward.
Thank you.
Rudy Buchheit, engineering. A question for the chair or really anyone from the Senate. I'm curious if the Senate in part or in whole has formulated an alternate governance proposal at this time.
We have tried, yes. We have sat with the president, and I have personally sat with the president and the provost in our meetings to give alternate structure to a new university senate, including more voices at the table. So yes.
Thank you.
Are there Kaveh to Kaveh?
Their response
To
to that.
yes, yes.
I have asked our chair yourself several times to please invite the president to come to the Senate Council so that we could have an intimate discussion. Yes, we have met with the president when he invited us. And it was very good meeting at Padraic. But to the best of my knowledge, we have never had the president or the provost designated to discuss the proposed GRs at every step. And I regret that we never did that. I brought up the idea of task force, which would be, let's say, 3 or 4 administrations sitting down with 3 or 4 faculty leaders. That never happened. To the best of my knowledge, we are talking past each other to some degree. We keep being told that this increases faculty involvement, but it's a fact. It's not an opinion, it's a fact that we will become advisory. Right now, we have decisional authority. You guys noticed some of the discussions today. These discussions would evaporate. So I wish we would agree on some facts. I wish I don't have to raise my hand and correct my colleagues if they say, oh, this is not gonna take away the faculty authority. It is taking away the faculty authority. Let's discuss other stuff, not facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, of fact and or debate? Hubie?
Hubie Ballard, College of Medicine, trustee. So a couple of comments and points. So I would say that regarding the board reassessing and redoing the process, it's very clear that the board is unanimously in favor of this. They voted 19-1 for passing this, and the board is not going to change that perspective. It's only going to continue to be very supportive of the president. Secondly, this does move faculty decision-making away from the Senate. I agree, but it moves it to the college level, where the college level faculty members can make decisions. And so, yes, it is a different model than what we currently have. Some view that as good, and there is a large body of faculty that continue to view that as good. And so, and lastly, I would say the most important thing continues to be how we move forward from here in terms of engaging in the process and collaborating in a positive manner.
Okay, hold on, has Richard Charnigo.
Richard Charnigo, Public Health. This is a situation that none of us wanted to find ourselves in. I don't agree with the course on which President Capilouto has embarked. However, I am not going to vote for this motion. I'm going to vote against this motion. I know that there are many good people, people whom I respect, who favor this motion, and that there are legitimate reasons to be dissatisfied. Some of those were articulated in the text of the motion. But I don't see that a no confidence vote is going to help matters. I prefer at this juncture to see our leaders in shared governance engage with President Capilouto on modifications of the ARs, which are a step below the GRs. The GRs may well be pretty solid with what the board wants, but the ARs may yet be negotiable. And if President Capilouto can be receptive to this discussion, not just listening to what people say, but really working collaboratively with them, that is my hope. And I also hope that in the interest of avoiding confusion and disorder, that the existing Senate rules can be upheld until and unless they are found to contradict governing or administrative regulations. I don't think we want to throw out our Senate rules. There are many good things in there. But all that said, I can't vote for this resolution. I don't think this is going to help matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Padraic and then Molly.
Padraic Kenney, graduate school. I want to speak really carefully here because I greatly respect colleagues who are likely to vote in favor of this motion. I do want to say that though I am not primarily a faculty member at this point, I'm confident that if I were a regular tenure line faculty member, I would also be voting against this motion. That just comes from my experience with faculty shared governance. But I want to speak from a different perspective that I haven't heard brought up, and now is probably the time to do so. I want to speak as someone who has spent 30 years studying nonviolent protests. And one of the key things that one has to take into account, and there's really not a kind of nonviolent protest that I've not written about. One of the things you always want to take into account is it well suited to the issue at hand? To take an extreme example, and I'm not analogizing here, just for illustration, if people were to propose a hunger strike, for example, I think most of us would agree, wow, that's not fitting the action very well. I think the measures that the Senate has taken so far, for example, collecting signatures, proposing alternatives, are, whether or not one might agree with the specifics, makes sense. I would submit that a no confidence vote does not make a great deal of sense. And here I want to be very careful what I say. Let's imagine that some of the concerns that some faculty have raised about what might happen in the new governance system that is coming. And people have talked about programs will be closed, rules will be imposed upon how we can teach in the classroom and so on. Honestly, I don't think any of those things are likely to happen, but let's imagine that they were. At that point, it would make sense for some faculty, I don't know how I would feel about it, but it would make sense to say this is an action that warrants calling for no confidence. But that move will already have been used, and it will have been devalued by reuse. So I would suggest that there are certainly situations out on American campuses today where it is not surprising, again, staying away from what side one might choose, but it is not surprising that faculty might move a motion of no confidence.
Mhm.
This does not seem to me to remotely rise to their level as serious as I recognize many faculty see them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Molly, Akiko, and then Bobby.
Molly Blasing, Arts and Sciences. Similar to some of my colleagues who've spoken already today, I take no pleasure in the fact that we are debating this particular resolution, although I'm grateful for the opportunity to debate it. I wish that I shared my colleagues' confidence that there was a possibility of moving forward together with productive partnerships. The resolution as written is quite focused on the process up to this point, which unfortunately for me has not inspired confidence in the future of these deliberations. The process began in February with manipulation and misinformation, a claim that we are outliers compared to our benchmarks. However, if you look at our institutional benchmarks, our official UK institutional benchmarks, of which there are 20, 13 of the 20 have governance structures that include senates with delegated decisional-making authority and responsibilities over educational policy, including admissions. These include the University of California, Los Angeles, University of Illinois, University of California, Berkeley, UC Davis, Pennsylvania State University, the University of Virginia, Minnesota Twin Cities, University of Maryland, University of California, San Diego, Purdue, the University of North Carolina, Rutgers, and UK makes 13. So we began with a campaign of misinformation. The process itself, and this is where I've had the privilege of being in the meetings with the president, with Senate Council, the process has not been transparent and we have not been allowed to be partners in moving forward together. I think that had the president taken a different approach, we may have gotten to a very similar place in terms of revisions to the governance structures, but we would have all been facing forward together toward the future. Instead, a question that I posed in one of these Senate Council sessions, one of the things they're taking from us is admissions. So I asked, in order to open a conversation about this, given that we have record admissions year over year, what is it about admissions that you don't have now from us that you need? This question was met with silence. And when I tried to pursue it again, Mr. President, this is a sincere question. It's important. He said, thank you, and we moved on. We have not been partners in formulating these resolutions and revisions together. The third and final point I'd like to make is that there are also problems around a severe lack of transparency in the details of these revised governing regulations. And they go beyond the structure of shared governance. And they go so far as to change the definition of academic freedom. So if you haven't had a chance to look closely, I would invite you to compare the previous definition, or our current definition of academic freedom, and the one that is proposed in these new GRs that have already passed the first reading of the Board of Trustees. And I would like to point out that there has been no discussion or deliberation whatsoever, as far as I am aware, of these changes to the definition of academic freedom. So in our current iteration, it's quite capacious. Faculty members shall be permitted and encouraged to investigate any theory, challenge any premise, engage in political and social debate, and to express their dissent without jeopardy to their academic careers, provided their behavior is not in violation of the law and does not interfere with the normal operation of the educational programs of the university. That's an excerpt from our current definition of academic freedom. Under the new GRs, this is GR1A Part C, it tells us what academic freedom is and what academic freedom is not. While all faculty members of the university have academic freedom, it is particularly important to faculty members. Regardless of tenure status or tenure eligibility, faculty academic freedom covers all classroom speech related to the subject of the course and all scholarly speech related to the faculty member's area of expertise. Yet, as sacrosanct as the value of academic freedom is, it is important to also delineate what it is not. In a classroom, faculty members should be free and must be free to express their views and perspectives on issues related to their academic expertise. Formal instruction does not allow for faculty members to impose their personal viewpoints on students or engage in promotion of ideas outside their domains of expertise. Formal instruction is for learning and discussion, not indoctrination. That's the new definition of academic freedom for the University of Kentucky as proposed in these revised governing regulations. I am not here to say whether this is appropriate or not. I am here simply to point out that this is very different, that this has language that is quite connected with contemporary political debates, and we have not discussed this as a university community. And the fact that we have not discussed this, we have not come to a shared understanding around the need for these changes or from where they originated, I find deeply disturbing. As a result, with a heavy heart, I will be voting for this resolution of no confidence.
Thank you. Akiko, and then Bobby, Cagle, Doug, and then Chipper. I'll keep that.
Akiko Takenaka, Arts and Sciences. That is a very difficult act to follow. But also in response to three speakers ago. So I too was in a small group of faculty leadership who has met with the president multiple times with recommendations. We have spent many hours preparing for these meetings, and we have spent much emotional energy into these meetings, and our voices have not been heard at all. So I just wanted to respond to that point of the speaker. So I believe this is last week, the Board of Trustees chairperson wrote an op-ed in Herald Leader, and I wish I had copied the title of the piece. But it was something to the effect of the members of the Board of Trustees are successful business people. We know what is good for the University of Kentucky. And I want to point out that the university is not a business. A university is not a business. The goal of a business is to make more profit and make the shareholders happy. That is not the goal of a university. One of the many goals of this university is to provide quality education and experience to the students. And this cannot happen if a university is run like a business. This cannot happen if the university is just interested in increasing admissions, increasing its value, monetary value. The president has been very successful in doing that. However, we are not a business. That was point one. Point two, the process of dismantling the university senate, which is core to the ability of the university to provide quality education and experience to the students. That process was conducted based on a study by an external consultant that did not engage with the University Senate itself, did not talk to the chair of the University Senate Council, and produced a non-scientific recommendation based on outdated data. A member of the consultant company, an employee of the consultant company himself admitted that the data was not meant to be scientific. And yet, based on that unscientific data, the consultant recommended that the University Senate is the core of all of the problems that this university has. And as a result, we are being dismantled. Did the University Senate have problems? Of course. Were some of the processes too cumbersome? Absolutely. And so we saw this as the perfect opportunity for us to revisit, change some of the structures and improve some of the Senate rules, streamline the regulations, right? And we had also invited, with the previous resolution, more students onto the University Senate with voting power. We proposed to invite staff onto the University Senate with voting power, not advisory. If we're advisory, there is no guarantee that whatever we say is going to be taken seriously. I heard that staff wants family care leave, right? The new version of the University Senate can do that. The faculty will fight for staff family leave, family care leave. Students wanted attendance policies modified. They wanted the fall break earlier. That's what I heard from students. Come on to the University Senate and let's work on doing that. However, we are now being dismantled, and instead, the president has siloed the three groups, students, staff, faculty, separately, and sort of pitted us against each other to prevent us from working together. So the University Senate voted on a resolution to make these changes, the kind of changes that I'm talking about, happen at our previous meeting. The president did not engage with that resolution, except to forward it to the chair of the Board of Trustees. I have no confidence in this president or the Board of Trustees, except for my esteemed colleague Holly Swanson. And so I will be voting yes to this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby?
Bobby Scroggins, College of Fine Arts. I would agree that this is a really, really sad day that we are in a position where we have to consider such a drastic move. I've been, losing sleep over this situation for the past several weeks now. But I want to make sure that I understand as a relatively new senator. I'm concerned about how we make decisions based on reaction, and also I want to ask some questions before I cast a vote. I answer for various reasons. One is that we need to be thinking about long-term and short-term implications to whatever type of decision gets made. I think that sometimes there are unforeseen consequences that are based on on whatever types of decisions are made in this regard. And I think we should consider this thing very, very carefully before, such a move is made. I perceive a vote of no confidence as basically a vote of condemnation. And while I am very, very disappointed at the optics of the president's approach to doing what he's doing, and the board as well, with the exception to one voting member, I would like to hear from someone who is opposed to this and someone who is in favor in terms of what do you think the outcomes will be with regard to a vote of no confidence? And what are we going to achieve as a result of this? That's my question.
Okay, I'll let a couple more people go, and if they want to answer that, I will let them do so. The next person is Cagle. Off.
All right. Hi, I'm Cagle, College of Arts and Sciences. I am not currently an elected senator. I was previously an elected senator representing the College of Arts and Sciences, of which I'm very proud, and served on the Senate Council. And I want to speak to the idea that a vote of no confidence isn't appropriate to the situation and that it isn't efficacious. So great timing, Bobby. So as to efficaciousness, the steps thus far have not been efficacious. The Senate has no remaining moves to express the true threat to the university that these changes pose, as evidenced by a number of my colleagues who have spoken today. While it is true that we might think that, as to appropriateness, while it is true that we might think that other steps taken thus far have been appropriate, as I just said, they haven't been efficacious. And that's not because the Senate hasn't tried. It's because the interlocutors with whom they're trying are not acting in good faith. I'm a rhetorician, and I know how to spot when someone's not acting in good faith. So this is the next step, and it's appropriate and efficacious because it is what it says on the box. It is a vote of no confidence. It is an expression that the faculty, maybe not 100%, but the majority of the faculty, should the motion pass, have lost confidence in this leadership's ability to lead. How that might shake out, we actually can't know. There are quite a few examples. This has happened at other universities. I appreciate the idea that while if we take this step now, if you all take this step now, it perhaps is less impactful in the future. The problem is there will be no Senate to take this vote in the future if you don't take it now. We know that these changes are going to happen if nothing else happens. So I appreciate those who have put forward the motion and our elected representatives who have spoken in support of it for their willingness to take this final action to try and save part of what makes this university great, and frankly, makes me proud to work here. Because otherwise, I don't have confidence that I will want to continue to work here. That is what a vote of no confidence is about. And it's not just me, it's many other faculty and staff and students, including staff and students in the room. We have lost confidence in the president's leadership, as others have noted, because of his reliance on and spreading of misinformation, avoidance of difficult questions. I was at the Senate meeting in March, where he danced around every direct question that was asked, including one that myself and two others asked directly 3 times. He has demonstrated unwillingness to take university Senate input, so the input of our elected leaders under advisement. The Board of Trustees leadership 2 weeks ago said outright that faculty were split while staff and students supported them. And yet Chair Brockman said that after I read out loud to them an op-ed written by undergraduates opposed to the changes. That is just one of many examples of public statements being made by the Board of Trustees and President being factually and transparently false. So I and many others have no confidence he will listen to us once he doesn't have to, because that's exactly what he has done for the last 3 months. So I and other constituents have no confidence, and we ask you, our elected representatives, to please approve this motion.
Thank you. Doug, Chipper, Shannon, Aaron, and then Daniel.
Thank you. Doug Michael, College of Law. I wanted to speak a moment to those of you who are opposed to the motion, but might be inclined to vote in favor of it because I'm one of those people. I don't think it's a sad moment at all. I think it's a realistic and educational moment. Normally, a no confidence motion is something brought by the opposition bench in Parliament to bring down the government. That's not what we're doing here. We obviously don't have the power to do that, and I don't think I'd want to if that's what it would accomplish. But I would be in favor of a vote of no confidence if it means something else. And maybe that's part of the problem we've had, is that we're talking about different things. I don't think we should just turn over the table and leave the room. I agree that the most important thing is what's going to happen next, because it will happen next. I'm slated to be the shortest serving Senate Council Chair in history. 13 days, I've counted them. And beyond that, we have no idea what will happen. There will be a future. There will be a future with this administration. I don't have any idea what it will be like. It will be very different. I may not have any role in it. We may not have any role in it. And I think it's important to move into that space. However we do, most of us will still be faculty here and say, Mr. President, you have repeatedly, unequivocally, intentionally demoralized and disappointed this faculty. And I think that's the powerful statement we can make regardless of what happens going forward. And that's the statement I intend to make by voting yes. Thank you.
Chipper.
Thank you, Chair Collett. I'm Chipper Griffith, College of Medicine. So I appreciate the reading of the resolution, and I appreciate the discussion. I was on the Senate back when I was not in administration, and I appreciate this body greatly. I was trying to put my hand around what do we mean by no confidence? And some of the words it says, no confidence in President Capilouto, no confidence in the process, no confidence in the decisions that were made this past few months here. I did appreciate in the resolution, the admission very early on in the resolution that talked about his achievements. His achievements are astounding the past dozen years or so. I won't recall all of them, but record enrollment, graduation, retention rates, DEI efforts, philanthropy, best place to work, raises throughout the pandemic. He was the only president who spoke up for DEI in the legislature last year in the Commonwealth. No one did this. So all these years and years of achievements are very, very real. Now, what is real is the last few months, there's been disappointment. There's anxiety I'm hearing people say, and that's very real as well. But we shouldn't discount what has happened before. In terms of what's going to happen next, I agree with what Padraic said. I also agree with one of our senator colleagues mentioned that it's a fact that it was changed from advisory. I'm sorry, from decisional to advisory. That's a fact. But what's not a fact is we don't know what that means. It is speculation how this may or may not change things. For all we know, every single decision that the faculty make will be heeded by administration. We do not know that at this point. This is all speculation. And as a professor, I want to see facts. I want to see outcomes. I don't want to vote on something this grave based on speculation and an untested hypothesis. We may look back a year from now and say, this is really pretty good. We doubted our president, who's been such an amazing leader for 12 years. We didn't like the process this spring. I agree that people have been hurt by this, but we may look back on this a year from now and say, this was the best thing that happened to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon.
Hi, Shannon Oltman, College of Communication and Information. Like others, I am not an elected senator, but I have been in the past. And I just have 3 quick points I want to make. One is that I don't think we're discussing this vote only on speculation. Previous speaker asked for facts, and I think there are facts that he has disregarded faculty concerns over the past several months. He has disregarded requests to slow down the process. He has disregarded requests for us to read the report that this is all based on, right? I think these are facts. So I don't think we're discussing a vote of no confidence based purely on speculation, but we have evidence of the last several months to look at. The second point I want to make has to do with the president's record of success. In many, many ways, he has been a successful president, but I don't think this is due solely to one man. I think a lot of the success is based on the work of the Senate in passing policies and helping programs, colleges, and units be more successful with retention, recruitment, enrollment, all of these things. The Senate and the president, the Senate and the administration work hand in hand to make these things happen. And then my third point has to do with shared governance. I was fortunate enough to be one of the people from my college to represent my colleagues at the president's house during his listening sessions. And he asked those of us who were present what we thought about shared governance. And I was really pleased he asked, because I had actually spent a lot of time in the past several days thinking about what shared governance means and what it means to me. And so I said, Mr. President, I think shared governance has 5 components. It involves explicit goals that are shared. It involves accountability, which goes multiple directions. It involves candor, transparency, and trust. I think those 5 elements are essential for effective shared governance. And I think all 5 of those are under attack. I think all 5 of those are about to be decimated. And because of that, I do not have confidence in our president. I ask our elected senators to vote no confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Thank you, Chair Collett and friends. I'm Aaron Cramer. I'm a faculty member and department chair in the Pigman College of Engineering. What I offer today are my personal observations. I served as a trustee charged with bringing faculty perspective to the board's fiduciary and policymaking responsibilities. Before that, I led this body for 2 years, working with faculty, staff, and students across our university. Before that, I served in and led the Senate's Academic Programs Committee, where I really learned the Senate's role in helping the best ideas of our colleagues come to life for the good of our students. I heard it recently stated publicly that I lack perspective. Perhaps I'm the one who lacks perspective. Nonetheless, I will not give my personal opinion on the resolution before you today, but I will offer 3 observations around the conversations and the discussion around it. I've heard concern that such a resolution will close lines of communication. By my estimation, if the door is closed and locked, it's locked from the other side. Having examined the resolution, I see a call, an invitation to either this president or those who would come after him to another path for this university. Another concern I've heard is related to personal retaliation. Most of you have been elected to this body by your peers for a reason. Integrity requires courage. There's no room in a university for retaliation of this sort, and there's no limit to the lengths your colleagues will go to defend your right to exercise your office freely. Fear corrupts the university, your courage can preserve it. Finally, some have asked a really pragmatic question. What's the use of this? If this is a fait accompli, what use is there in speaking now? I'm an engineer. Pragmatism is part of my professional identity, but we're a university. We cannot be so pragmatic that we lose all sight of what's ideal. If you believe that what the Senate says doesn't matter, then the university Senate's already dead. So thanks for allowing me to share these observations with you. No matter what happens, my confidence is in you.
Okay, Daniel and then Roger.
Thank you. Daniel Kirschner from the Lewis Honors College. I'm an ethicist, and so I teach about values. And when I look at the mission statement and the strategic plan that we have at the University of Kentucky, the top line value is integrity. And I think that that's ultimately where this decision comes down for me. I think that it's clear from the proposal and the process that the integrity of the values that we have at this university have been compromised on several different levels. Integrity is a value that asks you to consider how well you're doing and hold each other accountable with the other values that are on your list. And this process has not been one that has taken into account shared governance, the decision-making authority of the Senate. It's not one that has upheld the values that each of us has learned and execute and teach to our students in terms of how we engage in inquiry, what kind of evidence is appropriate, how much evidence, and how we have to take that evidence to contribute to a reasonable proposal or solution to the problem. And then the other piece of that for me is that integrity requires us to hold each other accountable when things don't go according to how we believe they should, when we aren't acting on our values. And so what that means for me is the top line value of the university and of my college is that it's my obligation to say when these values are out of line. principle of integrity tells me that when a college or a university or a leader is in a position and acting out of line with the stated values that they and the institution have, that it is our responsibility as people who respect each other and who have developed these standards as a matter of trust, that we hold each other accountable. And so I believe on the basis of integrity that we ought to make this vote of no confidence. There are also two things that concern me about the upshot of these changes. I anticipate these to be extremely destabilizing changes, and in two ways. The centralization of power in the office of the presidency opens up the possibility for political influence in a time where that is clearly something that is afoot in our country. And that political influence is going to have a second effect when you look at the rhetoric that has been used regarding the decentralized way colleges and faculty in colleges are supposed to be able to make program and curricular decisions. The centralization of power has coincided with the centralization of budgetary authority. What this means is that anytime a college wants to make a decision that is out of line with whatever the centralized power determines, the budget can just be withheld. And it can be withheld on the basis of the advisory role of the faculty. The rhetoric has already been set up for this. Faculty are not to be trusted or believed in what they decide. They are going to make these decisions in decentralized ways in their colleges without drawing on the expertise and resources available to their colleagues across the university. And then those decisions don't have to be upheld by any kind of provost or president administrative position, simply by denying them a budget. So I think we should be very thoughtful about what this model sets up for future influence and what that influence is going to look like. The reading of the change in what academic freedom means tells us exactly the direction that this is headed. I will be voting no confidence.
Thank you. I have Roger, Simon, and then Kaveh.
Roger Brown, Cafe. You would think that if we were going to make a big change in the university involved everyone, a shared sort of concern, that we would use shared governance to try to figure out how to solve that. That does not seem like what's happened. There are going to be lots of choices that we have to make in this university that affects individual people's lives and our colleagues and departments and units. I'd like to think that when we're going to make decisions like that, that you go to the person or the group that's causing the problem and you work with them to figure out the solution. That's not what happened this time. What happened this time is there's a lot of suspicion and a lot of anxiety. You got to do a crash course on shared governance because you never really thought about all the details. But you have to go to meetings and talk to the president with, smart ideas about what you think should happen in the future about it all. That produces anxiety. It causes people to be concerned and suspicious. It's not shared governance. That's not what happened this time. And I'll just point out 2 points of clarification. Number one, just moments ago, we had a resolution that this university senate that's empowered to make broad educational policy decisions, final decisions, delegated that down to the unit. Final decision authority to the unit on prerequisite waivers. You do whatever your faculty body says you want to do, and that's final. I'm not on the board of trustees, so Trustee Ballard, I'm not sure if I have all the latest details, but I will say there's nothing in the current 79 pages of GRs and ARs that suggests to me that there's going to be any final decision authority that flows down. It's all going to be advisory. And number two, to Dean Chipper, I'll just point out, if the president's plan for shared governance involves anything like my experience on so-called work group 5, then you should all make plans to talk to your primary care provider about stress, about putting people on a committee where they're one of a very minor group of people where duly noted is the normal way of saying things, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody about it. That's not shared governance either. I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote to support this resolution. I feel really good about it. Even though it's terrible circumstances, I have all my confidence that there is no confidence.
Thank you. I have Simon, Kaveh, and then Bob.
Simon Sheather, the Gatton College of Business and Economics. Respectfully, in the field of economics/strategy, an important concept is this notion of looking forwards and reasoning backwards. You want the past to inform the future, you can't change the past. So again, respectfully, if you go the nuclear option and have a vote of no confidence, I put it to you that that will exacerbate the differences between the president and the faculty. Secondly, I also put it to you that the nuclear option has the potential to damage significantly the reputation of the University of Kentucky in the face of future faculty members and future graduate students. Thank you.
I have Kaveh.
Kaveh Tagavi, engineering. I really tried to only talk once. Yeah. We were told we are 100 more or less elected. By the way, think about that word elected. It's gonna lose all its meaning. We are 100 elected by thousands of other faculty. And we were told, no matter what you say here, you could say whatever you want to say. It's like closing your eyes and your ears and the board is going to approve this. That's actually quite revealing. I don't know if it's a Freudian slip or what, but it's very revealing that we are told what you say doesn't matter, yet we are told we have shared governance. How is that possible? Think about it. I was hoping not to debate facts, and I think momentarily there was an agreement that we are going to lose our authority, and then we were told, no, it's going to go down to the college. If the GR would allow for instead of a university senate, it would allow for a college senate with the same powers of the university senate now, maybe I would have said, okay, fine. But that's not the case. And in fact, the GRs is a little bit loose between the word college and college faculty. College faculty is us. College could be the dean of the college. Think about that. And in some colleges, authority has been delegated, which is one of my pet peeves, this delegation, delegated to curriculum committee. In my college, as far as I know, curriculum committee consists of DUS and maybe an associate dean. DUS appointed by the dean. So where is this governance or faculty power? If the claim is that the power that Senate has today is going to be given colleges, I would like to see it. I haven't seen it, and I read everything.
I'll just follow that. Yeah, GR1 of the revised GR1 does not say that. It directly says the faculty will be advisory, and the GR supersedes an AR. Next, we have Bob and then Nolan.
I've not heard a student speak today.
Okay.
Despite the allegations that we don't care about this. And I would like to hear from
Nolan first.
more students.
Okay. Well, then Nolan's first. Then, okay. He's got to get around the popcorn.
I think I have 2 points. One, for those who have said that this vote of no confidence is too harsh for a nuclear option per se. What other option is there left? I think it's quite apparent that the president is not considering any other proposal or option and is not listening to the University Senate's proposals. So what other decisions are going to be made other than no confidence in what the president is doing? And secondly, I was looking at the previous minutes meeting for the last meeting.
and says that UK students support President Capilouto's proposed principles. I think I'm alone in student government in this decision, but I disagree with the proposals. I think that taking away voting that's very, very big. I mean, you're almost getting to totalitarianism at that point. You have one man making all the decisions, and like my fellow senators in this room said, just advising someone, that's not really power at all, and that's not true.
Thank you, Nolan. Any mic you want to go to? And if the red light off, then okay.
All right, make sure I'm doing this thing right. Can everybody hear me?
You want to get your time back after? Okay.
Hi, my name is John Hurley. I graduated from the University of Kentucky on Friday and will be returning as a graduate student in the Martin School. I'll be returning as a graduate student in the fall in the Martin School. The first question, I do have a question, and then I'm going to go into my thoughts, and it's for the proposal sponsor. Where are you?
He's up, Scott Yost, but direct it to me and then I'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when was this proposal brought to the University Senate? Like, when did it get to you all and then come to the body?
So this proposal came to Senate Council last week, and it was brought to the body, and it was put on the agenda to be brought to the body today.
Okay. So I'll speak a little bit to my personal experience and having heard about the proposal. The first time I heard of it was whenever it came up in I believe it was the Herald Leader on Thursday of last week, right before I was getting ready to graduate on Friday. That was a little concerning from a student perspective that it wasn't getting disseminated to us as members of this campus community as a whole. But I'm not going to hamper that voice too hard. I have heard repeatedly today that this body wants to hear student voices more and more. Yet you all are considering a vote of no confidence in the president of our university 3 days after the fact. The vast majority of students have gone home. They have returned to places all across this country and are not here to be able to effectively voice themselves apart from Zoom. I understand that this is a matter that has been ongoing for months, but I want to voice that is a major point of concern that I have as a student. I have the benefit of living in Lexington, but if I didn't, I don't know that I would have jumped on Zoom. And looking around this room, there are a handful of people that I believe are students. I know Nolan's here, I know Warren's here, and I don't believe there are any other active student members here right now.
I think they're on Zoom.
They're on Zoom. There's a handful on Zoom. And it's not because we don't care. NSJ, where I currently serve as a graduate student representative, I've seen that there is passion for these changes and a desire to see this campus thrive. Voices are not in this room because it was brought up at the last minute meeting of the University Center for this year after most of us have gone home. A sizable portion of the student population has graduated and are no longer students at this university, period. It's not because we don't care. It's because it's the ninth hour, for lack of a better term. And I understand this body hypothetically would be dissolved next month, but that doesn't change the frustration from the student perspective that I would have appreciated it being brought up whenever we were still here to have this conversation. Now, firsthand, I hear a lot of people saying that they didn't feel heard by the president whenever he came and spoke to your all's body. I'm going to speak to my experience because he came and talked to SGA as well. Firsthand, I brought feedback to him about the president's council because I was frustrated. I didn't know how it was going to function. I didn't understand how the student members would be selected. And I didn't like the way that it was initially set up. I was able to have a conversation with President Capilouto, and I saw in the first revision that came out thereafter that the structure had changed. I don't know if I was the only person that rang that bell, but I saw responsiveness and I saw receptiveness. I voted to support the proposal that this body has, from what I can tell in large, said that they are not okay with in SGA a month ago. And I stand by that vote because of the fact that I've heard him listen and I see that this is a developing process. I understand that you all are having a lot of conversations surrounding faculty, their engagement in the process, et cetera. But I want to remind you that this is a university senate and decisions should be made on behalf of the entire body, that is staff, faculty, and students. I can't speak definitively for every student on this campus, but I know that I have only heard a small minority coming up saying that they are not in favor of these revisions that we feel would give us a more amplified voice. I've heard that the staff senate did pass a resolution in favor of this. I understand the faculty's concern, But I want to make it clear that as you all are making this decision, that you need to take into account that we aren't feeling heard and that we want to be more engaged, but that opportunity simply hasn't come up in the current structure. And we feel that the coming one would do more in that regard. That we have confidence in the president and we have confidence in the work he's doing. That's my perspective on the matter. I'm not definitive, but I think that the student voice should be listened to in this conversation.
Okay, Bob, but I would just say everybody got the resolution as senators at the same time everybody did in here. And as elected senators, we know that the last day for the Senate meeting, it's been published for a whole year, is May the 6th. So whether you come in person or you're on Zoom, the expectation is all the elected senators will be here. Bob, and then you can go next. Bob.
There are a few comments, Chair Collett, that I just like to address. First of all, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay. A couple of comments I would like to make. First of all, the student asked why we, who just spoke, asked why we waited until now. But the case says we passed resolutions at the previous two Senate meetings and previous two out of the last three meetings, or three resolutions out of the last.
Three resolutions.
Out of the three last meetings, and nothing changed. So the reason we are debating this now is not because we wanted to wait until May. It's because we've tried to take other measures until now that have not been responded to. We also share your frustration in that the board's final vote on the new GRs is going to be in June, when 67% of the regular faculty or so are going to be who are on 9-month contracts will not be here on campus or engaged to participate in revising the GRs that everyone in the community has individually been invited to participate in, to suggest revisions, but not this body as the elected members of the university faculty and elected student members as well. So we have repeatedly asked not for this process to end and for us just to stick to what we have now. We have asked for the process to be postponed until there is time for people to consider all the possible implications of these GRs and ARs that are being hastily written and put into place without any vetting. And just as an example, who is going to be in charge of the academic calendar once these rules are enacted? There's nothing in the GRs that says that the faculty senate or the staff senate or the student senate will be in charge of the academic calendar. Rules around plagiarism. There's nothing in the rules about who will control the rules around plagiarism, who will decide the penalties, who will adjudicate the penalties. Nothing in there. There's a ton of things that are missing, and we're told, oh, don't worry, we're just going to copy the Senate rules and put them into the ARs. Well, who's going to do the copying, and how are we going to know that they're going to put in the ARs? The process of these trust that is needed for these actions to happen is gone. So for someone just to promise, don't worry, I'll just copy all the Senate rules and put them in the ARs is just not something that we can just accept. And you're going to have faculty scurrying through the rules trying to figure out what's gone, what's still present. So anyway, so I feel the frustration. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. So I feel your frustration, and we are not opposed to
speaking to the mic.
We are not opposed to reconsidering the GRs and the ARs. What we are opposed to is this headlong rush into change before any of us have had a chance to have meaningful feedback and the president actually have a meaningful conversation with us. I'm glad he had a conversation with you, but he has not had a conversation with us at all. This body has been has existed for over 100 years. And for it just to be ignored and written away is just completely unacceptable, especially when we've had no chance to be told why this is necessary and presented with an alternate vision of what things should be. So I will, with due respect to our speakers who have not, who've expressed opposition to this resolution, I agree that it's terrible that we have to do this. And I know people have criticized me in the past for defending the president when he's done things that have upset faculty. But I am done supporting him because what he has done the last semester is egregious and totally unnecessary.
Thank you.
Alyssa Eckman, College of Communication and Information. I first of all want to echo our students, and I'm so glad we've had to speak here today. Like you, we are frustrated. We also want to be heard. And with that said, I call the question.
Question has been called. We'll go to immediate vote to call the question. I need a second. Jennifer. Poll everyone. What's up? We'll pull up, poll everyone. It is to call the question. No, I need a slide at the end. Vote no. Motion to call the question. It is, but I think I have to sync the slide to show it. As it would be this. It's not. Yeah. Bear with me. Here we go. It's up now. Oh crap. How do I do this? Let's swap. There we go. Only those who should be voting should put a vote in. Michael, I can't respond to you just yet because we have a call the question, so we have to go immediately to you. We have 67 approved, 9 opposed, and 8 abstained. The motion carries. It is now time to vote. So hold on just a second. Let me get it presented. And have to do all the motions again. Before I announce the final, I will just ensure that who's supposed to be voting is voting.
Question?
Yes,
Can you verify that the number of abstain has no relevance to passage or not passage?
that is
Before
true.
you even see it.
That's true.
Okay.
But if no questions, we're voting.
That was parliamentary.
Yeah, I know yours is parliamentary, but I can't take any more questions. We just had 95 people voting. Where's my other people? Anything appropriate? Yeah. Okay. We have 58 approved, 24 opposed, and 11 abstentions. That vote of no confidence does pass. So next thing we have is items from the floor. Do we have any items from the floor? Scott Yost.
Given that this resolution, while specifically mentioning the president, was also, I guess, supported by, promoted by, in concert with the president, I make a motion that this approved motion gets also extended to the Board of Trustees.
I will need a second. Alyssa and Jeff for both. So I have a second. So now we have a motion on the floor to extend or amend, I guess, the approved motion to extend the vote of no confidence to the Board of Trustees. The motion, Alyssa, the motion is now on the floor, and the floor is open up to members for questions of fact and or debate or speaking to whatever. And then Kirsten.
John Hurley, the student that talked earlier. I just am a little confused on what actually you're voting on. Extending it to be a vote of no confidence against the Board of Trustees or just send it to the Board of
No,
Trustees?
against the Board of Trustees. So it's to add the Board of Trustees to the vote of no confidence. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Okay. So now it's just we approved it just for the president. The motion that was seconded on the floor was to add now the Board of Trustees to the current, to the vote of no confidence, to extend it to the Board of Trustees. I had, that's right. I had Kirsten, Padraic, and then Christian Brady.
It may be because I don't understand Robert's rules as thoroughly as I thought, but at this point, we have already voted on the resolution. It has passed, but we cannot do any retroactive motion on said resolution. So amending it after the vote is invalid.
My parliamentarian.
Are we amending it or are we just extending it to the Board of Trustees?
I think we're extending it, not amending it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was interpreting as well, was we're extending it to the Board of Trustees.
And therefore it's a new motion. Christian, and then, oh, no, did I say you, Padraic? I am sorry. Padraic, Christian, Mark, and then Rob. Let me write it down again.
So I appreciate that the Senate has voted on a document that, though I don't agree with it, is reasonably well crafted, and where the president is the subject of many of the sentences. I would think that it would be appropriate if the Senate really wants to do this or want to discuss this, to craft an entirely new resolution that is specifically about the Board of Trustees. This is not, as I read the document, I'm looking at it right now, I don't see how you can extend something without it being an amendment.
Hold on, I'm gonna let Doug Michael kind of speak to that. Is where you're gonna speak to that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, because
College of Law, I would have no trouble endorsing a measure against the trustees, but we do need to think about it. I spoke to them at that last meeting. I got 3 minutes and I said they're being reckless by doing this, and I stand by that because they have spent 2 minutes thinking about what they're doing. And that's not how fiduciaries act. I think a different resolution ought to be written. If you really want to talk to the trustees about that in a fashion that might potentially get their attention, in addition to the one sitting next to me, it needs to be rewritten and more thoughtful. I can appreciate, and the reason I voted for the motion of no confidence is the emotion in this room. That's what needs to be taken for those of us who might still be working with the administration and the trustees, that you have deeply disappointed this faculty. And that's what I took away from the motion of no confidence. You want to take it to the trustees. I agree. I think it needs to be different. I think you ought to really consider withdrawing the motion and doing it again in a fashion that is directed specifically to the trustees. Shouldn't have any trouble doing it.
Christian, then Mark.
Christian Brady, Lewis Honors College. I would basically echo the procedural comments of the last three speakers, I think now. If nothing else, first of all, there has to be an actual motion on the floor. We need text of that to say precisely what it is that we are debating, let alone voting on. And secondly, I agree with Padraic that if this is, you can't simply just extend this to the board. The language is very specific to the president, to the things, the things that the writers have claimed that the president has done or not done. It's very specific. And so I think that, first of all, procedurally, you need to have a written resolution that's very clear so we know precisely what it is we're discussing, let alone voting on. And secondly, if it is the will to have a resolution, vote of no confidence to the Board of Trustees, then I believe it would need to be completely rewritten.
I have Mark next, then Rob, Loka, and John.
Thank you. Mark Kaveh from College of Public Health. I apologize for not turning my camera on. I'm in the middle of shepherding kids to afternoon activities. I would like to put to the Senate to think that I think it would be a strategic error to extend no confidence to the Board of Trustees at this time. I think that the word nuclear option was used several times with respect to the vote of no confidence in the president, and I do believe that a vote of no confidence is that serious. I think having passed the no vote of confidence in the president, that it would be prudent for the Senate to wait and see how the Board of Trustees responds to that vote of no confidence. If they take it as the very serious expression of concern that it is and respond appropriately, I think that's why you're making the vote of no confidence. If the Board of Trustees does not respond appropriately, then I think the Senate should come back and consider whether a vote of no confidence is in order. But I really do think it would be strategically premature to do it now until you see how the board responds to the very serious vote of no confidence that you just passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Oh, Doug covered you. Okay. Loka.
sorry, make sure this is working. Loka Eichwood, Senator Arts and Sciences. I wondered if I could maybe make a friendly amendment to the motion to narrow it. Would that be appropriate at this moment?
To Scott's motion?
To
Yes.
Scott's motion, yes. I would like for us to add a statement about Board Chair Britt Brockman after the final paragraph of the resolution about the president. And I'd like to offer a series of paragraphs for consideration.
Out of order. This is modifying.
Right. So you want it, so it would be a new, that's what we were saying before, it would be a new motion, not modifying what we've already approved at this
Okay.
point.
It'd be a separate motion.
Yeah. Did you want to finish or you want me to come back to you?
No, I think I'm fine. I mean, I could read the paragraphs now or wait to see if people want to open up the motion.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Roger and then Alyssa. Oh, no, hold on. John, then Roger and Alyssa. Oh, and then Provost. Hold on, I got it.
Am I good?
Yes, you're good.
All right, cool. Hi, John. I guess I don't.
UK alum.
UK alum / UK graduate student, whatever term you want to use for me is fine. I want to first echo Dean Brady and Kirsten's concerns over just the correct sequence of how this is being done. I had the pleasure of serving I've been in SGA now for over a year, and I had the pleasure of serving as their parliamentarian, and I know for a fact that I've advised against doing stuff like this in conjunction with Robert's Rules 12th edition. But I also want to talk to the substance of whether or not this should even be considered if it is allowable. I emphasized that I thought it was concerning to bring this up the week after graduation whenever students are already gone home. I think it is borderline reckless on behalf of this body to consider a condemnation of the Board of Trustees that was not, number one, largely publicized prior to the meeting. Number two, I know for a fact that that's something I would absolutely be opposed to. But I also want to emphasize that students aren't here. I don't think the previous vote of confidence should have been brought up because of that. And I definitely don't think something as nuclear as saying that we do not have confidence in the Board of Trustees is something this body should even be talking about as an item from the floor. I think it's reckless and I think it's short-sighted.
Thank you. Roger.
Roger Brown, SREC Cafe. I move to table this motion.
I need a second. Alyssa, second. We need a vote to table the motion. Huh?
Then you're needed for a table.
Majority, I think. That's my parliamentarian. To table the motion, is it a majority? Or 2/3?
Yes, majority vote. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing folks. But yeah, if you're tabling this motion, it'd be a majority vote.
Okay. Yes, discussion. That will go to, yeah, I was about to say, is table debatable?
I don't see that the tabled motion is debatable, no.
Okay, it's not debatable, then I can't take any questions. You ready? Is it at the end? Oh, great. All right, so we have a vote. We have a vote now to table the motion.
That was fantastic.
Shh. Order. That was my mom voice. Got any more here? Close it. 74 approved to table this motion, 9 opposed, and 5 abstentions. The motion is tabled. So then I have other items from the floor because I see people's hands up. Provost.
Yeah, Provost DePaul and also Co-Executive Vice President for Health Affairs. I didn't get an opportunity to talk as I got called to question before, so I know the vote already occurred in terms of no confidence vote, but I just wanted to say a few things. Because what I wanted to talk about is at least the intention, as best I understand it, for the future. Can you hear me okay?
No, I think you gotta speak up and you gotta do your dad voice.
All right, commencement voice.
Yes, commencement
All right,
voice.
sorry about that. I had said that I wanted to say something before it got called to question. I didn't have an opportunity before. Obviously, the no confidence vote got called, but I did want to say a few things because there were a lot of questions regarding the future, meaning where do we go from here? Now, obviously, we'll have to see. Board of Trustees, will vote obviously in June, I would think. But if it goes forward in the current form, one thing I would say is that the vote of no confidence, I'm not sure it helps the institution. Basically, that would be the question I would have had is why, really, what is this going to get us? What will it achieve? But I did want to say a couple things related to the future. One thing that is true that I've observed, I've been here a bit more than 8 years. And by the way, I introduced myself. I'm also a faculty, a member almost 30 years in different institutions. But the president, the thing that we have observed, and it has been said here, the president has had a track record of caring about faculty. I think any of you that have been invited to his house to have discussions, you saw that on a regular basis. I've seen that on a regular basis. Now, I know what's occurred and I know all the comments. I've listened carefully as well in terms of what's gone on in the last few months. But as mentioned by a number of people, there was a track record. There's also a track record of how the institution's done well. The other point I wanted to make is part of the proposal, at least as it currently stands, in terms of the resolution related to the governing regulation, is the creation of a faculty senate. And the faculty senate, I can tell you, at least the intention would be, as best I know it, and if I'm involved at all, as best I know it, would be to do that hand in hand in as best possible, even if it's advisory, in a shared governance approach, meaning to engage, empower the experts at the table as decisions are made. My understanding would be is that the current Senate rules would roll over so that we have something to start with. So the processes that we're talking about would continue. And I know some of you are wondering and so forth, but I wouldn't see another way moving forward without having an expert body to go to do the things that we've been doing, or many of the things, or most of the things that we've been doing. Now, there would be, somebody had asked the question before, would there be an opportunity going forward to modify rules together, to modify ARs together? I would look at it that way, that this would be done together, hand in hand, in a collaborative way. That's the way I functioned when I was Dean of the College of Medicine with the Faculty Council, and anybody who saw that function there, I think would attest to that. Empowered, engaged, with a group of experts, weighing in and voting, whether it's advisory or not, with voting and making recommendations. I would think it'd be a rare event to not listen to recommendations analogous to what we do with appointments and promotions processes, which are advisory. Committee in the college, codified processes. That would be the intention. In fact, as a faculty senate, we could even imagine codifying processes so that there is process, appeals process, recommendations, voting for recommendations, et cetera. So I just want to say that, at least from my perspective, the intention would be, if this goes forward, I don't want to be presumptive, if this goes forward in advisory capacity, that there be a very strong faculty senate that we work together as best possible. I want to look to the future in that regard if this is going to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other items from the floor? Doug?
Doug Michael, College of Law. I would like to change the mood a little bit and note that this is the last meeting for our current Senate Council Chair, indeed the last meeting ever of a University Senate.
Yes.
She has led us for 2 years in tumultuous times, indeed into an uncertain future. She has led us with deliberate, thoughtful, courageous, and passionate leadership. And I would like to take the wildly out of order moment to move and second and applaud.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the support of everyone in this body and the faculty on this campus and the students and the staff. It has been a hard 2 years, and this last year has really been rough. But I thank you all. I thank you for all the work that you have done in the fight and the courage that you have had and continue to have. While this is a somber moment for a lot of us, and we've spoken and we've heard you, this is a moment that, you know, the faculty is, and the students and staff who are involved right now are standing up to say, we want to be heard. I hope that what comes next is that we can work in a shared governance manner. We can work towards being a collaborative partner. I have talked with the provost on multiple occasions. As he said, he wants to codify some of these things because we've had some concern, you know, what happens when the next provost comes? These things aren't codified the way. And so our next steps will be, as I said, we will be at a Senate Council meeting. We're going to give some deliberate feedback on these GRs, some things I have already did a track changes on every single one of them. They will be posted so anybody can read them so that you can see. But hopefully this is a move where the president is also ready to sit down with Senate and Senate Council and move in the right direction. This was hard for everybody, I think, in this room. It was not an easy vote for anyone, but it was a necessary vote. So I thank you, and I'm shepherding in Doug Michael as the new chair. I didn't bring, but he will get it. And I guess at this moment, we are adjourned, and if we are still around, September 9th will be the first next Senate meeting. Thank you all so much.